Yes, sir.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. First of all, my sincere thanks to Dr. Sridhar to give me the opportunity to share my knowledge. So, even though this BLDC and permanent magnet synchronous machine involves a lot of dynamics and mathematics, but I will not go in so much details. Rather than I will try to give you the flavor of that particular these two particular machines, how it is to be operated. So definitely, if you want to get the very good dynamic response from a system, somewhat you should understand the dynamics of the machine. So that much only I will limit. I will not go in that much because a lot of electrical engineering means mathematics. So I will not go in those many details. Instead of that, very easily I will try to uh, explain you so that it will be easily understandable and you can apply the concept in your real life also. Okay. You see, this is the typical construction of DC machine. See here, normally this part is the stator. You know, even the everybody know, and this is the rotor which is rotating. These are the two poles. This one north pole and the south pole. This is one kind. It's a cylindrical rotor. You can see here it is cylindrical. Here this is called another type. It's called salient pole because these poles are projected. In salient pole, the rotor poles are projected out. But here you see the magnet of the rotor. It is inside. This is the magnet. Okay, so this is basic the two different construction of DC machines. Okay, so here what is happening? You can take one simple example. Motor is nothing, but it is following the magnetic field which is created electrically. You can I can remember in my childhood, the bottom of a table I used to put one magnet, and top side of the table I will put a magnetic material, and if I move the permanent magnet at the bottom of the table, the top side the magnetic material will start to move with the same speed at which I am moving the permanent magnet at the bottom of the table. So this motor is same. If you create if you create a magnetic field, and if it is started to spin, and in that stator space, if you put one rotor which is also a magnet, either it is permanent magnet or it is induced through stator field, or you can separately creating the rotor by some external supply as a magnet, then it will try to catch the rotating speed which is generated inside the stator space. This is basically the motor. So once the rotor is getting magnetized due to stator field, it is induction machine. When your rotors are permanent magnet, it is called permanent magnet machine. When your rotors are getting magnetized through some external excitation, it is called one kind of separately excited DC machine or common type of DC machines. But some special kind of machines that are called reluctance machine. So as I was telling, the torque is, so here once the electrical energy is getting transferred from electrical domain to mechanical domain, basically the transformation is taking place like the voltage and current is generating the torque and RPM, which is very important to understand that in internal combustion engines like your scooty, car, bike, all are combustion engines. So there the torque and the RPM, these two quantities are very tightly coupled. What is that? Say I am going through ECR, it's a wide, or the outer ring road Chennai, so that is very wide road, 4 lane, so I can ride my bike in 5th gear, very high speed. But suddenly if the road is bumpy or inclined where the torque requirement is high, definitely I cannot ride my bike in 5th gear. I should bring the gear to 2nd or 3rd to elevate the torque, because your power is constant. To increase the torque, definitely you have to bring down the RPM of your driving shaft lower. But in electrical machine, it has a unique advantage that keeping your torque constant, your RPM can be varied, or vice versa. But here also some disadvantage. Every kind of machine, electrical rotating machine, has one advantage and disadvantage. So in reluctance machine, what is happen due to this is basically the interaction between one magnetic field and the magnetic material such as iron. It is happening, and eventually the poles are salient pole, and due to that your torque profile is not very smooth, and also it cannot produce a large torque. So when you require very large torque and your torque profile should be very smooth, like in your paper mill. See, in your paper mill where this your paper is from the pulp, the newspaper, that paper, printing paper is generated, the torque and RPM should be controlled very minutely. Otherwise, the paper will cut, and once the paper got cut, then the entire pulp will be should be thrown. It will be useless. So in such application, your isolated control of RPM and torque is very essential, as well as the torque profile also should be very, very smooth. So in such case, we cannot use reluctant machine. There are two reasons. One, it cannot generate large torque. Second, the torque profile is not very, very smooth. So in commercial application, mainly in power and process industry, the separately excited DC machine, induction machine, and synchronous machine. In DC machine, why I told separately excited DC machine? Because here the armature and the field control is done through two electrically galvanically isolated circuit, and the armature flux and the field flux, they are perpendicular with each other. So your cos 90 is 0. So one flux is not influenced by other. So it has an unique advantage. That's why I spelled the separately excited DC machine. But the problem is, some of the DC machines which needs mechanical commutations, where the brush and commutators are involved, it needs periodical maintenance, and if the power is very high for the machine, it will produce some spark. So due to that reason, it cannot. So due to that reason, this machine cannot operate in hazardous area like refinery, nuclear applications. So to overcome this problem, that asynchronous induction machine evolved, which is very robust in design, and it can operate in hazardous area also. And definitely, you know, in most of the power sectors, power producing sectors, the alternators are synchronous machine. So due to this kind of this special feature, the DC machine, induction machine, and the synchronous machine, they are in 90% of the prime mover or the alternator in process and power industries are these kinds. So again, I am telling this is the simple construction of a DC machine. You know, this is a permanent magnet, south and north pole, and this is your rotating. This is the winding of your rotor. So this part is commutator, and this is the brush. So you know, based on the Fleming's rule, there will be one mechanical force, or the torque is generated, which will force the rotor to move in this way. And once one rotation is done, then the direction of the magnetic field, the direction of the rotor current, it will change, and that time it will force the rotor to move towards this direction. So these things happening very, very fast, and the motor will rotate. As I told, so this, as it's involved this mechanical commutations, so it's not maintenance free, because these brushes are normally carbon. So you need to do the maintenance periodically, and if your torque requirement means the power is very high, then while the if the contact is not proper, so while the current is passing through this junction, it will create some spark, and due to that reason it cannot operate in hazardous environment. So direct current motors, this needs, what we understood, the direct current machine needs mechanical commutation. So, and this will create some sparks. So what will happen? So this mechanical commutation basically causes an electromagnetic and acoustic noise also. So due to this reason, what I so far explained, to overcome this, a special kind of motor that is designed, which is called brushless DC motor. It was developed in 1962. Okay, so the electrical characteristics of the machine is similar to a DC machine, but it has an enhanced reliability by replacing the mechanical commutation with electrical commutation by switching. So whatever the commutator will do, basically it is changing that current flow through the rotor by mechanical system. But in BLDC, that things is done by electrically. When the semiconductor switching is exploring in the market. So that time by use of IGBT, power transistor, MOSFET, etc., we can do the electrical commutation. That we will learn later. As I told, for an induction machine, the control system design is slightly difficult for the control engineer, because the rotor side, as it is rotating, there is no measurement. I don't know where is my rotor flux. If I don't know the rotor flux, the position of the rotor flux, then which pole I will excite, in which pole I will give the excitation, so that with that magnetic field my rotor will be perfectly aligned. So here, to understand, to estimate the rotor position, rotor flux position is very important. To avoid that problem, normally the BLDC motor consists of Hall sensors, which will very accurately tell the rotor position. And once I know the rotor position, because it's a permanent magnet, then I can give the excitation to that particular permanent magnet. Okay, you see, so this is my conventional DC machines. This is a permanent magnet, and these are the rotor windings. This is the rotor core, and these are the windings. These are the windings. So here the brush and commutator all are required. But in brushless DC machine, you see your rotor itself, these are the permanent magnet. The rotor itself a permanent magnet. And this is the stator core, and these are the coils. Now, if I know the rotor position, suppose right now my rotor flux is here. So what I will do, so rotor, say this is these are the magnetic pole at that position. If I am able to sense it, then I will make these things energized. If I energize this stator pole, then this will rotate and aligned with this. And once it's come in this position, then I will energize this pole pair. Then immediately this will rotate and the rotor will align with this. And so on. If I, by very fast switching, if I am able to do that, my rotor will follow this rotation. So this we will understand pictorially in successive slides. So recently, the synchronous motor with permanent magnet rotor are growing rapidly in use of variable frequency drive instead of DC motors. Because as I told, DC motor this has a lot of disadvantage. This is because the permanent magnet synchronous motors have many advantages over other electrical rotating machine, such as it having very high efficiency, very good power density, and it having a very good high performance dynamic response, and the power factor drastically is improved here. What do you mean by dynamic response? That means, say my machine is rotating at 100 RPM, suddenly I increase it to 150. So normally, say this is my 100, I given the reference signal like this. So normally, other machines, induction machine, if it is not vector controlled, if it is a simply V by F control, what will happen? So it will go, it will come like this. So you know there is a overshoot, and it is take some time to settling down. This is not advisable where high performance dynamic response are involved, as I told in paper mix. But in BLDC, as the rotor position is perfect, and if I tune the system or permanent magnet synchronous machine, so in that case my response, when it will be, if somebody implement the things and you can test it, you can see that response should be like this. It will come, it will improve the dynamic response drastically. But one disadvantage is it is comparatively higher cost than induction machine. This is the construction of a permanent magnet synchronous machine. As you know, these are the stator coils, and your rotor field will generate in this way, and these are the field windings, and of course it's a cylindrical rotor. And here, as I told, in case of salient pole, the poles are projected. You see here the two poles are projected, the rotor poles are projected. So that's why it is called salient pole machine. So normally people will use the cylindrical rotor machine. Now I am coming directly to the equivalent circuit and the phasor of permanent magnet synchronous machine. So you can slowly, I will go here slowly, so that this is very important to understand the dynamics of DC machine. So you can follow me so that you can understand very easily. So here you see, this is the NS, it is the synchronous speed, and this is your armature field, and basically this is your permanent magnet rotor. So both are rotating at synchronous speed. So now this is the stator supply, stator voltage supply you are giving. So this is the stator current flowing through the circuit. This is the stator resistance. This is the armature leakage reactance. This is the field EMF, and that is the reactance due to reaction of the armature, and this is the field circuit. As I told, you are applying externally. Okay, so now in this case, if you apply the Kirchhoff voltage law, so your Vs is equal to ISRS, the drop across this, and it's a inductive in nature, so that's why multiplied by J. So J is an imaginary, and this is the stator winding voltage, the voltage at the stator winding. So which is nothing but this voltage plus the field voltage. So basically this EAR is equal to nothing but J IS XAR. So that is simply written. So now taking this from these two terms, taking JIS common, so inside it will be XAL plus XAR, which is total your stator reactance. So now you know your Z is equal to resistance plus the reactance part. So if you take IS common, in between it should be RS plus JXS, which is nothing but the total impedance of the stator. So your Vs is equal to the voltage which you are applying to the stator, which is nothing but ISZS plus EF. This is very simple, like your separately excited DC machine armature side voltage equation. Now I am coming to the phasor. So this is your stator voltage, and definitely as the entire circuit is containing some reactive impedance, so due to that definitely the current will be lagging. So that is the angle theta. Basically, this will play a major role for the power factor of the entire system, and this is because this field is generated in the rotor, so there will be some angle. If you are increasing the load, this angle will increase. So this is the load angle. So now this angle is basically theta minus delta. Okay. Now, you know, if this is a vector and this is my horizontal component and this is my vertical component, and if this angle is theta, say this is V, so my horizontal component should be V of cos theta and my vertical component should be V of sin theta. It's very simple trigonometry. So now I will try to find out V cos delta. V cos delta means this entire cos component, the horizontal total. So this V cos delta, it has three parts. One is from here to here, which is EF, then this part, and then this part. Now, as I told, if this angle is theta minus delta, then this angle also theta minus delta. So this angle is 90 degree. So this angle is 90 minus theta minus delta, and this angle also 90 minus theta minus delta, and this angle is 90. So this angle is theta minus delta again. So this line basically parallel to stator current. Basically it is stator current, and when it will be multiplied by J, any quantity, say this is my real plane in a complex algebra, then say this is A. If I multiply it A by J, then it will rotate by 90 degrees. So this is JA. Again, if I multiply it by A, so that is J square A. J square A basically minus A. You see, A plus A is like this, minus A is like this. So like that. So if you see the equation with IS, one JXL term is there. So once I want to get that, it is multiplied by J, it is 90 degree rotated. Okay. So, and if you remember the triangle law of vector addition, so if this is one vector and this is one vector, then the resultant of these two is this, which is taken in opposite order. So this order and this order is the same order, and the resultant will be this, the another side of that angle, which is taken in different order. So now, as I told, so there is a part. So this, what I am going to create, I am going to create this part. What is this part? ISRS plus IS into JXS. So this is my ISRS and this is my JISXS. So both I have taken in same order. So in the opposite order, this part should be my ISZS. Okay. Now coming to the point. So as I told, this angle is theta minus delta. So if I take the horizontal component of that, this part, so this should be ISRS into ISRS into cos component. So you see this is that cos part, cos component, ISRS into cos, because this angle is also theta minus delta. And what is this part? This part again, what is this? This is J ISXS. So this is the vertical component of this. So that's why it is sine component. So this equation from the phasor, this equation is clear. Now, if I take the sine part of Vs, so that means now I have to find out this part. Okay. So what is that part? So that part is, now what I will do. So you see, this, now I have done the cos part, that means the entire this side is equated in this way. Now I should find out the Vs sine delta. This means this part. So definitely that part should be, if you split the vector in the same way, so which one is your ISXS? So this part is your ISXS. So now if you take a line parallel to this, 1 minute, I will discard the thing again. Okay, now I want to find out the sine component, means this part. So I am taking a parallel line from that, I am joining it. So my this part is basically the total this part minus this part. Okay, so this part is what? This part is ISRS sine of this angle. So this is the ISRS of sine of this angle, and the total part, that means the cos of this part. So that's why you see from that part it is minus, so you are getting this. So this is the explanation of the phasor diagram of a permanent magnet machine. So now these two equations we understand from where it is generated. Now here your V, if I want to replace Vs, so Vs is equal to entire these things divided by sine delta. Now that value if you put here, that means in place of Vs, if you put ISXS cos theta minus delta minus ISRS sine theta minus delta by sine delta, and if you simplify, you will get a things like this. You have to expand. Sine theta minus delta means sine theta cos delta minus cos theta sine delta, and your cos theta minus delta is cos theta cos delta plus sine theta sine delta. And if you multiply this bottom side sine delta, will be multiplied with all the this right hand side term. So you will see, if you take that IS cos theta common, so there will be a term in between sine square delta plus cos square delta, which is basically 1. And you know this term, because this sine delta is bottom, so entire this term will be multiplied by sine delta. So this EF will be multiplied by sine delta, and you see here is a term XS, so that is the total stator reactance, so it will come down. So if you do from the phasor, this may be important from your examination point of view. Some question may come. So finally we will obtain this equation. Now as we know, in a three-phase system, the voltage, if these are the phase voltage and the phase current, so power is equal to 3 into Vs Is cos phi, is cos theta. But we know Is cos theta is what? Just now we have arrived, Is cos theta is this. So now, if I replace this Is cos theta by this, so it is coming like this. So what is the power? As I told, power is equal to torque into angular speed. So let us understand how it is. So this is a circle. So this is the theta, this is the radius, and this is the s. So if I try to relate these three parameters, theta is in radian, all are dimensionally correct, then the arc S is equal to R into theta. Now if I divide both sides by time, so distance traveled by unit time, that is my linear velocity, and radian per second, which is omega. Now my work done, that is equal to force into distance, work done by unit time, that is called my power, so this is F into V. So my V is equal to R omega. So force, this is a distance R, force is applied like this, which is nothing but the torque, and omega. So my power, my torque is equal to power by angular speed. So that's why it is like this. So now if I put the value of P here, it is coming like this. So so here it is very clear that when your system, the entire dynamics of the machine are in steady state, then these things are more or less constant, and your torque is a sinusoidal function, is a sine delta. This is the load angle. So if you can create the load angle 90 degree, so sine 90 is maximum, you will get a very good highest torque. Always it may not be possible, but another application, I am working with one more company who are developing unified power flow controller. You know that Andhra Pradesh, in our country, Andhra Pradesh is a state where the distribution loss is very lesser compared to other states. So they have installed a lot of dynamic compensation system. So the synchronous machine, basically it can work as a capacitor. You know, capacitor, it will push. Capacitor means it is your reactance is equal to that your 1 by j omega c. So it will lead. So it will push. It will move the current phasor nearer to voltage phasor, which will reduce the loss. So the synchronous machine, sometimes it's called synchronous condenser, is sometimes used for dynamic compensation also, and that is installed along with the power electronic unified power flow controller. In my channel there will be some video on that unified power flow controller, I think UPFC, that you can see if you are interested. I will teach also somebody if it is interested. So as I was telling, if this is the load angle and this is my torque, so at 90 degree, you see my torque is maximum. So far these things, the construction of synchronous machine, its phasor diagram, derivation of torque, and explain the profile of the torque. That may be important for your exam point of view, as well as while you will be when you will be entering your working life. That time this concept is important to apply for the selection of proper prime mover for an intended application. So this is a very simple comparison. So here this is the BLDC motor and this is the permanent magnet machine. So the back EMF, this is that if you see while you will be simulating, or if you do the experiment. So in case of BLDC it is trapezoidal, but as I told, permanent magnet machine, it is torque profile is very smooth, so it is sinusoidal. And the BLDC, it is concentrated winding, but naturally in synchronous machine it should be distributed. So the stator current quality, it is not that much good, but in synchronous machine it is very good. So you can drive a BLDC machine using using an inverter of 120 degree conduction. It can be done for 180 degree conduction. So making the drive for BLDC, it is very simple, because you know very easily you can understand the rotor flux position by embedding some Hall effect sensor in the stator core. But that is for a permanent magnet machine or induction machine, it is not so simple, because you have to take the, while we will be seeing the simulation of that, we will understand. It's not that much simple. You have to take the encoder feedback, then you have to apply some, you have to include some compensator. Compensator means regulator. You have to align it properly to estimate the rotor flux. All this control problem will arise, that we will see in the simulation later. So in BLDC machine, as I told, it is the switching is done at very high speed by electrical. That's why it's called electrical commutation. So due to this reason, this torque contains significant ripple. But in synchronous and induction machine, the torque profile is very good. So the entire system is, for BLDC machine, it is very low cost. That's why in hybrid vehicle people will use, or electric bike, they will use BLDC machine, whereas the permanent magnet synchronous machine involved higher cost. Now here onwards, the people who are very much interested to implement, so I think some of my students are already joined who are working for BLDC drive, so those people may concentrate. So this is a typical schematics of a BLDC machine control. So now you see, this is the coil A. I am going it very slowly, you should understand. I would like to request everybody to follow me. So this is the coil C, this is the coil B phase, and this is the permanent magnet, this is the rotor, this is the north pole, and this is the south pole. So you see, this H means Hall effect sensor. So when the north pole is coming near to that Hall effect sensor, it will give a output. How it is, that you can see the books also, or you can later on, you can write to me also. I will explain the principle of Hall effect sensing. It's very simple. So you see, what at this position, because the north pole is nearer to H1 and H2 both, so we will get a binary high from H1 and H3, and you will get 0 in H2. So you can embed the Hall sensor in same way. Naturally, all BLDC machine will come with that Hall sensor output itself. It will be displaced by 120 degree. Then you take the position of the rotor, take that feedback to the controller. You decide the direction, whether it will be clockwise or anti-clockwise. You switch the inverter in that way. Your machine will rotate. You can control the speed. And your dynamic response will be very perfect, because I am predicting the rotor position and applying the voltage to the stator winding. This is very important, which is very difficult for induction machine. So in this picture, I will energize for the next. I will make this pole as south and this pole as north. So immediately it will rotate and aligned with this position. This is not possible for induction machine. This is possible, but that is not so simple. Now here the 6 states I am explaining, you should understand thoroughly. So suppose right now my rotor in this position. So as I told, north pole is nearer to H1 and H3. So that's why you see H1, this is 1 basically, 1, 2, 3. If it is like that, then what will happen? I will switch on the switch number 1 and 6. This is my 1 and this is 6. If I do that, you see current will flow like this. So my pole A will become south and pole B, the phase B, that will become north. So that means where is pole A? You see this A, it is become south and pole B become north. In that case, it will rotate like this. Now I am going to another sequence. So now my rotor position is like this, which is nearer to H1. So I will get only H1 1 and H2 and H3 is 0. That time what I will do, I will switch 1 and 2. So if I do 1 and 2, then my A phase, that will become south and C will become north. You see, my A is become south and my C is become north. If it is like that, it will further rotate. You see, it is pushing. Now in this case, the north pole is nearer to H1 and H2. So that means H1 and H2 should be 1 and H3 is 0. That time I am switching 3 and 2. So my current is flowing like this. So my B pole will become south and my C pole will become north. So it will again, this north pole will attract the south pole, it will rotate. You see, it is rotated in the next position. In the next position, my north pole is only nearer to H2. So my H2 is 1. Okay. That time I am switching on 3 and 4. So if I do that, then my B pole will become south and A pole will become north. You see, B south, A north. So this south will try to go to that north. You see, it is moved. In this position, H2 and H3 is 1 because north is nearer to H2 and H3. That time I will switch on 5 and 4. If I do that time my C will become south and A will become north. So further this S will attract this south pole will attract the north pole. It will move further. You see, it is aligned. This is the last sequence where only H3 is on, and that time my A will be my C will become south. C will become south, and my B will become north. It will further rotate. This south will attract by this north. So this is one sequence. So you're here in this sequence, your rotation is happening like this. Now, if you want to do that rotation for this particular construction, then you can generate your switching sequence. It is like this. For this machine, it is like this. You can do the same thing by yourself. Whatever I have explained so far, using that you can do that. So with that, with that, I will go for the simulation.
Yeah, 100 Biswas.
Sir, tell me, sir. Tell me, sir. Hello. Sir?
Yeah. Participants, if you have specific doubt on this switching table and the switching sequence and the operation, if you have any specific doubt, you please ask.
Sir, let me finish because time is running. Otherwise, I cannot finish. After that, the permanent magnet machine also there. I will answer more time. First, let me finish whatever in my mind. Otherwise, I may forget, sir.
Okay, done. Okay. Now, what I thought is we can have BLDC alone today, so that we can ask questions on that. It is sufficient.
Okay, then PMSM not required.
PMSM maybe will have in next city. Okay. Today, yeah, you show the simulation and let them ask them about BLDC alone. That's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, this is the BLDC machine. So this is my inverters. So I will go very slowly. So this is 1. So 3. So IGBT 5, IGBT 2, IGBT 4, IGBT 6. And you see, this is the speed sensor I have here included to see the speed, and this is the BLDC machine. This is the specification of the machine. Okay, so there is a 4-pole machine. These are all the parameters. Now this is these 3 lines, these lines and these lines. This is your Hall effect output. That means it will give that whatever I have shown. This sequence, it will give you this sequence 0, 0, 1 or 1, 0, 0. This sequence it will give, and based on that, if I multiply, means basically in practical we will use the AND gate or OR gate. That what first we will do what, how to implement it practically. So now you see, these are the. So I am going into slightly details because we need to কোথায় গেল সে? Okay, so now say this is my truth table. So these are my input and say this is my output. So you know K-map. So I'll show you one for one sequence. Say I want to generate. So in this case, these two place only one, switch 1 it is to be enabled. So the variable is 3. So this you can take, this is your H2 and this is your H3. So this should be 0 0 0 1, then 1 1, then 1 0, and this part is your H1. So this is 1, sorry, this is 0, this is 1. So what is 1 1 0? So 1 1 0 means this is 1, then this one 0 1 0. So 0 1 0, this one. So here it is a pair. So my output sequence is, so the switching pulse, say that is I am giving the name variable S1. So the S1 is equal to H2 H3 bar. Now what I will do, I will put my circuit will be like this. So this is my, so okay, so this is my AND gate. This is my NOT gate. Here I will give H3. Here I will give H2. Here I will put again one AND gate. This will go to my switch IGBT 1, and here I will apply the PWM. Okay. So if I increase the duty cycle or decrease the duty cycle, the voltage will be applied to the machine in different way. Amplitude will be changing. Similarly, you can get the things for this two, the switch number 2. This will be switch number 6. This two switch number 5, switch number 4, and this one is switch number 3. So similar way you can simplify the thing for using the K-map for all. This is for one direction. For different direction, so you have to take another both the things. So that will, so you can now I have given the flavor. Now you can do hope this digital electronics you have studied. So same way. So for simplicity, I have given a multiplier, but actually it is not. It should be some logic gates or some FPGA or something. So as we know, this switch and this switch, they are complementary in nature, because both the switch should not be on together. So that's why whatever pulse I am applying here means when this switch is on, definitely this should be off. Otherwise, if this two is on together, then the DC shorts directly will be shorted. Then IGBT will blow off. So for that, it is here the gain is -1, but in practically it is not like that. You should generate one inverting and non-inverting PWM. Inverting and non-inverting PWM is what? then this practical implementation I want to take separate class for the specific people who want to do the who want to check the output. So those people, that for dedicated people, I should teach you the microcontroller, the entire, because sequentially it will go so that you can rotate the machine. So that you can decide who are interested. Then for them I will start separately class. Similarly, you see this is coming from the Hall effect sensor 1, this is the Hall effect sensor 2 and Hall effect sensor 3, and this all the places, this is my PWM, basically this is my PWM. So here, as we know, the torque profile is not good, already I told. So to improve that, you should use the higher frequency of switching. So normally for power electronics application you should not go too high, because the switching loss will be also more. So now in most of the microcontroller, the clock is 16 megahertz. So 16 megahertz divided by 2, it is this one, and the resolution of the PWM, if you take 102 10-bit resolution, so you will get a PWM frequency of 7.8 kilohertz. And if you take the resolution of 8-bit, so you will get 31.2. So, and if you use a prescaler of 2, then you will get this kind of 15 kilohertz. So those are the called particular trade-offs. Our just 15-20 minutes lagbe বুঝছো. So these are the things. So that's why I have used here 15 kilohertz switching, and the duty cycle 90% I have given. So let us see what is the, I will enable the theta, is a torque flag is on. Okay, so let us simulate it. Now you see, this is the RPM. I am getting an machine RPM of around 1927. Now suppose I want to reduce the RPM. So reduce the RPM means simply you reduce the duty cycle. So it is, I am giving the duty cycle of 80%. You see, now the RPM has reduced to around 1450 RPM. So simply by changing the duty cycle, only one variable, duty cycle, you can control the speed. But here the torque profile, this is the electromagnetic torque. You see, the torque profile is not good, whereas you will get a, I have not applied any load, it is running at no load. So anyway, so torque profile, it is normal, it will be not that much good. And the current also, if you see the current profile also not good. You see your current, you will get a current like this. So this is all about. So for practical implementation, say you can, I will suggest you, if somebody are interested, I will help you, you will learn the entire thing so that later on you can implement it. You have to take one small BLDC motor, it is available in the market, it will, that may cost, you can do it in your home itself, need not to, because this during this lockdown period you need not to do anywhere, you can online order. This one machine may come within 1000 rupees. Then this, for this IGBT you can take IRF 840, so that one IRF 840 may cost 30 rupees. This machine you can take some 24 volt BLDC. Then you can take a 24 volt battery. Then some pot through which you can vary the duty cycle. Then for switching you can take small micro optocoupler, that is 4N35 or 2N35 optocoupler. Then for the drive, you see this, for this 3 IGBT the ground is common. So for this single driver source, but these 3 you need different. So you total 4. So one 24 volt battery, 4 12 volt battery. तपन मैं क्लास ले रहा हूँ ऑनलाइन में, थोड़ी देर में कॉल कर रहा हूँ. हाँ. So these are the component. So this is the driver circuit, so that you can use that 4N35 or 4N25, and one Arduino board. There, but there you have to write the library code. You cannot use, because here you have to generate very good profile outputs. There should not be any bug. So you have to use, you can use Arduino IDE only, but your code should be register level. You should read the register one by one and you have to write the code. Or you can use some other TMS Texas, that 320F some controller also you can use, and you can rotate the machine and you can learn the entire technique. So this is all about this BLDC machine. So now you can ask any specific doubt to me. One by one you can come. So you can type it. What I will request, because together everybody coming is problem, so you can type your question in the chat box, and Akshat can enable that particular user. Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir.